Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's been a while since I've live streamed, so I figured I'd let you guys in on this session today. I've been working my life away, but we're back, baby. So let's dive into some vocal production. And if you're here right now, say what's up. You know, ask any questions. Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's been a while since I've live streamed, so I figured I'd in the YouTube video. Anyway, I'm going to be diving into this folk pop song by an artist in my artist development program. His name's Josh Sturgeon. And I'm going to show you the song first, and then we are going to dive into sort of the initial vocal production stuff that I do for every session for whatever I'm working on. Obviously, folk pop is a little bit different than, say, EDM or rap or singer-songwriter or whatever else, right? So it's all kind of treated a little bit differently. But I wanted to kind of take you guys through this stuff and just let you in on the session. So let's go to Logic Pro, because that's where we're at right now with the track. We're in Logic Pro. And this is where I do a lot of my production, right? Initial writing concepts, any recording like lap steel, MIDI stuff, right? Programming, drum programming, synths, recorded some guitars. So I got some acoustic guitars in here. I got some bass, I got drums that I've programmed out, and we got vocals, right? So let me just play this real quick. I typically, when I'm working on a track, I am kind of manipulating the sound and textures, and I wouldn't say mixing as I go, but I'd say sound designing as I go, making sure it sounds good and it feels good. And that's just kind of part of my process. But let's listen to the song. It's called Silence right now, kind of working title, by Josh Sturgeon. And really talented singer. He's got a big voice. So, and I'll show you what I've done so far. And then we are going to take these vocals and we're going to produce them, because I just got new vocal layers from Josh. And I think a lot of people get stuck on this part of the process. They don't know where to put their doubles, harmonies, like what are you doing with stacks, and how do you make vocals sound big or small or whatever else. So I'm just going to kind of take you guys through some of that in this live stream.
Against the weight of the world, suffocated like I'm choking on my breath. It's a terrible sound. I try to run away, but it only gets worse when I drown out the pain in miles away again. I shut my mouth too long.
All right, so kind of just take you through the first chorus, okay? Now, there's a bunch of recorded instruments in here, but the drums are all programmed. I programmed all the drums, stacked them up, you know. I have samples in there, I have recorded stuff, I have claps, I have all sorts of stuff in there. And I won't take you through all the production elements. This live stream is really going to focus on the vocal production. So what I have so far for the vocal production is I have just this lead vocal of Josh. Okay. And his chain so far is pretty basic. It's very, very small amounts of everything. Little 1176, doing some compression. Metatune is just here for now. I might do some melodyning, but his pitch is really good. Like Josh's pitch is really good. So you can notice that the 48 milliseconds on the speed and that it's only at 75% on the amount. And this is really just like kind of adding a little bit of pop gloss to it. So I do want it to be folk pop. I don't want it to be just folk singer-songwriter. I'm not going for a country song. I'm not going for just folk, right? This is not that. This is folk pop. So there's a big difference there, and not big difference, but these are the subtle differences, I guess, are using some tuning and some things like that that are going to give that kind of gloss to it, that pop polish. A little Pro Q3, getting rid of some of this stuff that happens a lot in the SM7B microphone that he uses. And a lot of people use this mic, but it builds up a lot in the 500 to 700 area. So I always kind of tuck that. And with this kind of vibe, I like to push the 900, like almost like 800 to 1.5K is like really important when you're talking about folk music, because it's like the body of the vocal, right? Especially because we are in E minor. You're talking about the da-da-da-da-da, like that fundamental right there is right fundamentally in that 900 to 1K area, right? So that's what I'm doing with the Pro Q3, and a little top boost also, because the SM7B just does not have top. It's very warm and rounded, and I want a little top in there. RVox, awesome, love it. It's like one of the best compressors ever. It's just easy to use, makes the vocal fat, puts it up front. Pro DS, doing some de-essing. Neutron 4, this is an interesting thing for me. I don't usually use this, but I really like the sculptor and what this was doing to add just a little bit more gloss to the SM7 and some compression there. And then the Sooth 2 to get rid of some of that really kind of peaky, right? Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? Dumb and Dumber, right? 2K area is just like, you know, those parts get really annoying to my ear. Valhalla Vintage Verb, everybody loves it, everyone knows it, and I love to use the pre-delay on it at about 20 to 40 milliseconds. Really gives a detachment for the reverb. We're sending to Studio Verse, which is giving me some widening. I won't show you all of that. Bus 5, Altiverb, one of my favorite reverbs of all time, and honestly, this space, this Jet Studio lobby is amazing. It just sounds so good on singer-songwriter folk stuff. It sounds so live. It's just one of the best like sounding, just smaller rooms. Amazing. And then that's it. And then this vocal is going to a vocal mix bus, which has the Slate Digital VBC Virtual Bus Compressor FG Gray, which is an SSL style compressor. That's it. Very simple. And then what else do we got? Yeah, that's it. And then these are my vocals. I stack these in. These are the harmonies. And this is where we get into the production of it all. When we get to the chorus here, I started writing harmonies, doubles, etc. So this is the harmony left and right that I wrote on top of the lead.
My head, fighting.
Right, so that's going to be silent, can't hide it well in the morning, lost my head. Like going up. I feel like that makes it very anthemic right here.
Silent, I can't hide it well in the morning, lost my head, fighting.
Okay, very open, makes it way bigger. There's some other things here. I have a harmony as well on like a spot harmony here. So let's hear this.
Fighting.
So this gets really big, right? Because we have a low harmony, we have fighting, and then we have like the big stuff, and then we also have doubles. So the double left, right, and center. I like to double left, right, and center. Sometimes I only double left and right, but I always do at least double left and right. I don't just do a double. If you want like a 90s sound, I guess, you can do like just one double. But for a modern pop sound, you always want to double left and right, at least. So in here, I'm actually doing center, left, and right. So just to hear that.
Fighting, trying to make it work for days. Fighting, trying to make it work. Fighting, trying to make it work for days. We decided some things are better left
All right, so that's kind of stacks and harmonies and etc. But then what I usually do when I'm producing an artist is I'm like, yo, here's the stacks, doubles, etc. that I wrote. So all I want you to do is now do those with your voice, like record those. I also, with my artist development program, the artists that I work with, regardless of where they're at, like Josh is in Florida and I'm in Los Angeles, I also do remote sessions with artists if I need to. If I'm like, they're just not quite nailing what I'm looking for, then I just get on audio movers and connect with them over the internet, literally video, and record them into my DAW and coach them, right? And record their vocals and vocally record them and produce them live on a stream. So what we're gonna do, next step here is to take, because now I'm like, hey Josh, so record what I just wrote. Here's the stuff I wrote for the vocal stuff. So now you do all passes of the stuff I just did here, which is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different tracks. Okay, so I want you to record those. And this is where we start to thicken out the song and we start to build the song, right? And then he'll send me the stems back, or we'll record that virtually. You know, we'll record remotely. But he's pretty good at recording. I think he does a pretty good job. He has clipped out some stuff. Like, for example, these vocals are kind of clipped out, as you can see. So there are things that, like, you know, you got to pay attention to and you got to help people with as you go through the process. And that's why he pays me the big bucks to produce, right? Because I will go, no, that's not going to work. Let's re-record these, right? So these are clipped out. So I'll take note of those things. And if they sound clipped out and bad, then that's a big thing, right? But if they sound still pretty good and they're clipped out, like, and they're working, then it's not too bad. I don't mind a clipped out vocal, as long as the clipping is happening on, you know, something musical, like maybe it was limited or a soft clipper or some plugin that did that. But if you're clipping like the capsule of a really shitty microphone, like a Chinese capsule or something, then it's gonna go and it's gonna sound like shit. This doesn't sound bad, so I kept it. All right, so here we go. So now the next thing I'm gonna do here is I'm going to export all of this and we're gonna bring this into Pro Tools. And the reason I'm gonna do that is because Pro Tools has a lot of ARA stuff that works really, really well and fast offline. So first thing I'll do is I'll mute everything, all the vocal stuff, and I'm just going to make a bounce. I'm going to bounce the instrumental, and we're just gonna go silence. I mean, I typically, when I bounce a track, I call it the name of the track. I put in 140 BPM. I want the BPM in there, and I want the key, E minor, okay? And then I'm gonna put today's date. Before the track name, if it's an instrumental, I will put INSTR, and then we can make a bounce here. And that's gonna bounce the instrumental of the track. And then we're going to bounce out the different vocal stuff and the different vocal passes and the stacks and everything, so we can do alignment and everything ARA2 in Pro Tools, because Pro Tools has vocal line, Melodyne, everything else offline. So I can just simply do stuff very quickly. Logic Pro is really not good for this stuff. Be real with you. And this is a big reason why professional, you know, audio mixing engineers, editors, stuff like that, we use Pro Tools. And we can't get away from it because the offline processing on Pro Tools and the editing capabilities in Pro Tools with audio is just so good. It's just good. Yeah, that's why we use it. That's what's up. Vocals, vocals, vocals. What's up, Lisa? Good to see you. Yo, thanks, man. Thanks. Good to see some of y'all. I haven't seen you guys in a long time. Off-topic question. Can you do too much oversampling? For example, using it inside a compressor, then in a clipper, limiter, etc., and pretend CPU wasn't an issue? Oversampling over 8 times is a waste. So that is a good question, Martz. I usually would only oversample when I'm using something that's going to bring in artifacts. Distortion, right? Limiters. Clippers and limiters, basically. Anything that's going to add artifacts to the signal, which artifacts we talk about distortion, stuff that would go and like cause audible artifacts. Oversample 8 times. If you do any more than that, you're kind of wasting your CPU. There's no reason to do more than 8 times oversampling. And the reason being is because if you're at 44.1 and you oversample by 8 times, I mean, do the math. I'm not going to do it right now, but 44,100 times 8 is a lot. And then half of that is still a lot. And all you're doing really is you're pushing that stuff up above the audible range on the top end. That's the idea of it. So that when it resamples, it's not coming down into the audible spectrum. The 8 times oversampling is plenty. If you're doing any more than that, there's no reason. There's literally no reason. And I've talked to a lot of people that actually make these plugins about that, just so you know. Ryan Schwab, Schwab Digital, he's a friend of mine, and he was telling me all about that. Like, yeah, over 8 times sampling is just a complete waste. And, you know, he's a guy working on this stuff. What's up, Gino? It's good to see you, bro. Apple should have focused on that. Yeah, I agree, man. Apple should have they need to step their shit up with the audio stuff. Logic's been out for way too long to still, like, have to round trip into Pro Tools. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'd love to just stay in Logic. Yeah, you're welcome, man. Yeah, this is stuff I talk about and think about all the time. So yeah, this doesn't matter. So Kirok's 32 time oversampling doesn't matter. It's not going to do you any better. So over 8 times, I'll repeat this. Over 8 times oversampling. If you are times by 8 oversampling, you're going above that, 16, 32, etc. You're wasting CPU power. It doesn't matter. Like 44,100 times 32 is insane. It's like hundreds of thousands of kilohertz. Okay, so we're talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands of kilohertz. It's so above the audible spectrum. So when it resamples again, that it's not going to matter. It's so above it, right? All we're trying to do is we're trying to push the filter up above audible range, and most people can't hear above 18K. That's the facts. So yeah, 32 times oversampling is a complete waste. Makes no sense. Got a mix right now, but yeah, hey, good seeing you, man. All right, cool. So let's, so I bounced the instrumental. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these vocals and I'm going to bounce these out. Now, because these vocals don't need all to go through all the processing and everything, it really doesn't matter for what I'm about to do in Pro Tools. I'm going to take these and highlight the tracks, and then I'm going to go to File and I'm going to go to Export, and I'll go to 11 tracks as audio files. And then this way, I'm just going to go in here on the bounces folder, and I'm going to make a new folder that's called vocal stems for editing. Okay, create. And then I'm going to make sure that I do cycle range, export cycle range only, and 24-bit wave files, like the highest quality, obviously. We are going to do not include volume or pan automation, right? I don't want any of that. Everything's in the title, double right chorus, etc. So I'm not worried about that. You'll see Josh lead vocal. Everything's good here. And let's just export these. And I'll show you why I'm doing that in a second. You guys been having a good summer? I got a new record coming out tomorrow night, which is really fun. It'll drop 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time everywhere. It's called Call Me on the Way. I really like the song. It's super upbeat and fun. But look out for that. I'm hyped on that. And I'm sipping on a margarita, so can I complain? Absolutely not. What do you got? Any tips to a GarageBand user that is learning to mix? I've been playing music for over 12 years, but when it comes to production, I'm still in the beginning stages. Yeah, I would say where you're at right now, Nate, you're using GarageBand, and you're just getting into production. I wouldn't get caught up too much in the details of plugins and learning all these different things, right? The best way I put it is when I first started playing drums. If you start out on a drum kit, right? That's pretty good. It's not amazing. It's not super shitty and beginner, but it's pretty good. Then you're going to have a drum kit to grow into. Same thing with mixing. If you have stock plugins in Logic, you have plenty of pretty good stuff to work with. There's no reason you should be going out and spending a bunch of money on plugins. There's no reason you need this or that. The only thing that I would recommend that you do invest in is a good tuning plugin, like an auto tune or a meta tune or waves tune. You know, those are the big three for vocal tuning. I'd say invest in one of those, okay? Because Logic Pro tuning is shit. That's the facts. So that first thing, that's the biggest thing. GarageBand is gonna be pretty, you're gonna have your hands tied. It's sort of like I could see you're holding a guitar in your picture here. If you start out on a guitar that's really shitty, that's really hard to play, it hurts your fingers, the fretboard's weird, and it's hard to get a chord to play right, and it doesn't voice right, and it's hard to play. It's hard to play this shitty instrument. You're gonna hate guitar and you're gonna feel like you're just not that good. But if you get a pretty decent guitar, you get like a Fender made in Mexico Strat, right? You're gonna feel like, oh, I can get pretty good pretty quick because it's a good guitar, it's a good instrument, it sounds pretty good. So as you learn the skills and you learn the basics of, you know, fingering and chords and your hands get in shape and etc., you're gonna get pretty good. GarageBand, I feel like, is a pretty decent tool, but I don't feel like you can get to that point. I feel like you should invest in Logic. You should spend the $200 because Logic is like one of the most affordable DAWs. You're gonna get so much for $200, and you get like lifetime updates. They update Logic. You don't have to pay another $300, $500. Ableton is such a ripoff, dude. They're like, oh yeah, you want the update for the new Ableton? You got to pay like hundreds of dollars. Like, it's fucking crazy. Logic Pro, just bite the bullet, take $200 and really learn Logic Pro. Get my Logic Pro producer pack, go through all the video tutorials, learn the shit. Like, just spend 20 minutes a day on it. You'll get so good so fast, it'll be stupid. You'll be like, oh man, I didn't know I could get that good. So that's what it's all about, is just consistent practice and knowing where to find the information. So yeah, put your money aside. Like, it's $200, bro. Like, you can make minimum wage and just like save up over a couple months and afford Logic Pro. I don't see why not. You know, maybe just don't go out to eat a few times. Yeah, dude, I'm excited for it. It drops tonight or tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Super hyped. Yeah, dude, it's funny because you've been in the song creation challenges, so you've been seeing and hearing like the process of making these songs, which is really fun. So good to see you. Always coming through. Yeah, Reaper's cool. The problem with Reaper, dude, is like very small niche group of people use Reaper. So if you go anywhere else, you're working with anyone else, you're collaborating, it's really hard to be a Reaper user. And I know, dude, believe me, I have all these people that I've met that are like Reaper users, and all they do is just like tell you how awesome Reaper is. It's like, okay, but like very few people use it. You know, I just don't, like, I don't know. I'm not going to hate on it because I'm sure it's an awesome DAW. All DAWs are the same, by the way, guys. All of this shit is the same. And I'm just showing you like certain things are easier to do in different DAWs. So that's why I'm going to go to Pro Tools. So first, before we close Logic, I always do this. You have to, unless you're an idiot and you just don't pay attention. I like talking shit, man. All right, so today, this is our instrumental. We're going to drop this into the stems. Vocal stems for editing. I like to put dates on stuff too. Like, let's put -0724. Right? Just so we know, like, this is from today. And then let's just check all these, right? Double chorus.
Well, in the morning.
Just go through them. Make sure they're all there, right? I know this one's probably in a different spot, but whatever. We'll find it. Instrumental. Josh intro vocal, Josh lead. Okay, cool. So we got all our stems. We're good. I'm gonna assume that. Save that, quit Logic Pro, go to Pro Tools. And we're gonna open up Pro Tools and we're going to import all this. We're gonna set up this session, and then I'm gonna drag in the new vocal stems that I got from Josh as well, which are the stems that I showed you, right? So silent stems right here. These are from Josh. So these are all Josh's stems. Or no, these are mine. I'm sorry. But let me find Josh's here. we will find them. I can always download them again if I need to. Files from Josh. Here we go. So silence vocals 718. So I have all these, right? Double center, left, right, harmony. So he did everything. Basically did what I already did, right? What I wrote. Hopefully, you know, he did it in his style, etc. So we gonna find out. All right. Pro Tools has detected 37 unauthorized. Would you like to authorize? Sure. Yeah, if you haven't checked out the song creation like, dude, you know what it is, bro. It's like some serious stuff. Super serious stuff. We're getting songs done. Let's be real. What do you think of the digital EQ from Logic? I don't like it much. I'm not a big fan of the you talking about like the basic EQ, the graphic EQ in Logic Pro. Not a big fan. I don't like it. So it's funny that a lot of people complain about it. I just don't think it sounds very good. I don't use it. I would say like a good, once you get into mixing, like really get into it, I think a good EQ to invest in would be either like the SSL graphic EQ or the FabFilter Pro Q3. You know, something that's like better. Because a good EQ is very important. It's like having good scissors as a barber, you know? Like having good clippers. Like, oh, I'm a barber, but my clippers suck, you know? Like, nah, you need to invest in some good clippers. Yeah, I agree. Just go get Pro Q3. Pro Q3 is great for cutting mainly. I don't really like it that much for boosting, but it's just great for shaping. Overall shaping. If I hear a vocal and I'm like, this needs some shaping, like Pro Q3, I'm like, the workflow on it is second to none. That's why people like FabFilter Pro Q3. That's why Pro Q3 is like a staple in the engineer community. Engineer, producer, it doesn't matter what you are, like Pro Q3 is like the shit. So wait for it to go on sale and pick it up. I mean, that's only if you're really getting serious about mixing and production and stuff. And you're doing all this on your own and you're trying to learn this stuff, like really learn this stuff. Otherwise, just put your money aside and hire people. Like if you just want to be a songwriter, you just want to put records out, best way to do it is just hire people. And I know you have to save up for that and shit. I understand that. So let's open this up. Let's go silence vocal session, vocal editing session. And then we're going to put 07/24, 2024. I can't believe it's almost the end of July. It's absolutely ridiculous. I feel like July just started. All right, let's go create. And then this will prompt me for a location. We're going to go to my artist development projects and go to Josh Sturgeon. And there you go. I'll save it right there. Now this should open with a couple plugins and some stuff. Because I think it's like, yeah. So we have like a master chain, etc. I'm not really going to need any of this. So I'm just going to bypass all this. And you just hold down Control Command and click those. It'll bypass them completely. And that's a master aux bus. This is like my mastering template. I don't know why I opened that up. But okay, so let's go here and let's go to 140. 140 on the BPM because we know that's what we're doing. And then for the stems, we're going to go to silence vocals. We'll bring in these from Josh. And just drag and drop these in. And get them to the session start. So sometimes it won't like drag and drop right into the session start, but there you go. And we will Option Shift click the mute because I just want to mute those for now. And then we're going to bring in the instrumental. Keep your mouth shut. We're calling this silence, by the way. All right, so here we go here. We're going to bring in the Vox All. Let me see here. Silence, stems, 07. See, so that's why I date them. 0716, that's not right. So we want to go for editing, and we want to bring in the instrumental. And I'm going to put the instrumental up top, because it'll be easy to find it really quick, right? Go here. We'll go here. We'll go instrumental. Right, and then we are going to drag in these different Bradley ones and the Josh intro Vox and lead Vox. Actually, let's do this first, just so I can keep this kind of organized. Let's bring in the Josh intro and lead from our sessions. And for some reason, Logic just loves to bounce stereo files. Unless you change the actual mixer to mono, it will just make it stereo, which is super annoying, by the way. But let's also take these and gain this up a little bit so they match this, right? Sometimes I just like normalize stuff, but that's not really necessary. The biggest thing we want is we want to be able to see these waveforms. If you hit E on the keyboard, it'll full screen that stuff. Let's close this little side box, which has the files. And you could start to see how these vocals line up, right? The doubles and everything. And they line up pretty good. Obviously, he's doubling himself. He's harmonizing on his own vocals, right? So that's always easier than harmonizing or doubling against someone else's vocals, because you have to kind of like mimic them. But now I'm going to bring in my vocals as well, just so I can have them in here in case I want to hear them. I may not need them for anything, but I'm just going to drag them in. And this is where coloring really helps, right? Because you can have all these vocals that are like, I don't know which one's which, right? So I'm going to color mine. I'm going to color mine like, I don't know, pink or this like purple, whatever. Clips and track, and we'll go pink. And then we will color all of Josh's new ones. These here that need to be aligned. Like these are the ones that need to be aligned to his lead. We'll color all of these hot pink or teal. How about teal? Teal looks good. Clips on track. Teal. All right. And then these are his lead. So we'll just do this as like blue or something. Okay. Cool. That all makes sense to everybody? We're all good? This is just so we can figure stuff out. The instrumental itself, I'm just going to make it like Mountain Dew green so I know exactly where it's at and what it is, okay? Like super simple to see. So Josh married to the instrumental, right? And then we have Josh's new ones in teal, and then we have Bradley vocals in this like kind of pink purple-y thing. All right, and then we're going to grab these, move them over, and mute my vocals. So Option Shift click to mute or due to selected in Pro Tools. And let's just play this against everything and see. Oh, first we need to go to Setup, Playback Engine, and make sure you guys can hear it. So I'm going to take this up, and we have it on Ecamm. We're good. And now let's play this through, and let's just kind of take everything down and gain so we have a little headroom and everything. So it's not blaring.
Stuck in bed, can't stay, it don't stand a chance against the weight of the world. Suffocated, like I'm choking on my breath, it's a terrible sound.
All right, that sounds all in time, which is awesome. Let me see here, what do you got? Would you ever use a clipper before and after a limiter in the same chain? Yeah, sure. So clipper before would sort of like clip off some peaks so that the limiter doesn't work as hard, so you can get a little more gain out of the limiter, which really what that does is it just gives you less of a crest factor. The lower your crest factor is, the louder your record's going to be. Sometimes that also means you don't have any dynamics unless you really know how to mix. But yeah, you're talking about if you're using a clipper before and then you're limiting and then you're putting a clipper after the limiting, you're talking about going really loud, you know? Yeah, that's just really like maybe for EDM, Skrillex type shit, 2024 dubstep or something, you know? But most records don't need that. That'd be kind of crazy for something like this. All right, so let's listen to the parts that he actually put in, and let's pan things out. So, for example, he's got a double center and a double left and right. So on the left, we're just going to go take this like 52, I don't know, 52, 54. It doesn't really matter right now. I'm just going to pan these equal. So 54, 49, and same thing here. 54, 49, Sometimes it's a little bit more musical if you leave this open a little bit, right? So maybe we leave that like it at, because this is like true stereo panning that's happening right here. All right, and then let's pop this in, and that in. So these are his double vocals, and let's see what we got here. How that sounds?
Silent.
Okay, really loud. So we're gonna bring this down because it's the center channel. We can probably bring this down quite a bit. And then we're going to bring this down to 9.2 and I don't know, 9.2. Cool, fine.
Silent. I can't hide it. Wet in the morning, lost my head. Fighting, trying to make it work for days.
All right, so here's what we got. We have this like center, left and right double, right? So let's just solo these out and hear these together.
Silent. I can't hide it. Wet in the morning, lost my head. Fighting, trying to make it work for days.
And this is where Pro Tools, it just kicks ass, right? So check this out. So I'm gonna take these, this phrase right here. I'm gonna hit B to blade. And now I can align this phrase, okay? The way I do that is go to Audio Suite, or now with the Pro Tools update, which is really fun, is we'll go like this, and we can literally just turn on the channel here. We can go to Auto Align 2, and we can align them that way. I don't like to do this auto align. I wish Vocal Line was built in, which it's not yet. So, but you can use Repitch Pro. I don't have that, so I'm going to use the Audio Suite here. So with Audio Suite, I can use Synchro Arts Vocal Line 6 Pro, and here's how we'll do it. We're just gonna open this up. What is this? Invalid license. All right, sick. Cool, man. Thanks. Fuck you. All right, so now check it out. We just capture this, the guide. This is how easy it is in Pro Tools compared to Logic. So you highlight the guide. This is the lead, right? Capture. And then you go to the double and you capture the dub. And then you hit render, and that's it. Like literally, that's how simple it is to align vocals in Pro Tools using ARA2. And also, this is an Audio Suite plugin. It's all offline. If we want to adjust anything, like for example, let's open this up and let's go here. You can change time and scale units, right? You can go to samples. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this stuff. Okay, so you can match timing, match pitch, etc. You can match the difference in timing. You can make it looser or tighter. This is at 5 milliseconds. I might want to go like 9 milliseconds or so, right? Keep it a little looser because it is folk pop. I don't want it to be perfectly tight because then it's just pop, right? And then normal flexibility, high flexibility, etc. You have Smart Align. I'm going to leave that on. And high resolution, great. Everything looks good here. I'm not matching pitch. I don't want to use that. So now we just render. Now check it out. If you go back to the main window, you get this double that now has a -VAP Vocal Line Pro _1 on it, which means it's now been aligned to the lead. All right, so let's do that with everything. Let's have the lead, the guide, that's already captured, right? Now we can just go to the dub, capture, render. Go to the other dub, capture, render. This is why we use Pro Tools. All right, now let's hear those aligned, right? We'll just kind of put that to the side.
Silent, I can't hide it. Wet in the morning, lost my head. Fighting, trying to make it work for days.
Like, it's pretty impressive. So I'm gonna undo it and then I'm gonna redo it. So here's before.
Silent, I can't hide it. Wet in the morning, lost my head. Fighting, trying to make it work for days. Silent, I can't hide it. Well, in the morning, lost my head. Fighting, trying to make it work for days.
And that's it. Like, literally vocal lined. All right, so I don't just vocal line. I also auto align because I hear phasing that happens when I only vocal line. I hear like this like weird like, you know, phasey kind of stuff going on. Also, I do things like this. Because these are doubles and they're not the lead, you have like these like breathy kind of things in the in-betweens. So if I zoom way in on the audio waveform, bada bam, then you can see here like these weird like, you know, awkward piggy sounds and shit, you know, and breaths that I don't need in the doubles. So what I'll do is I'll go like this and I will chop all those out. And then I will highlight and I will hit F and fade on each of these. So I'll find like a good fade part. Oop. Obviously I don't just do this like every time I do a vocal line. I go through vocal line everything and then do the next process and then do the next process. I'm just showing you this, guys, so you don't have to learn one thing and then be like, oh, well then what do? You know what I mean? Oh, well, I'm just going to vocal line all of these vocals on this live stream. It's going to bore the shit out of you. Another thing I'm going to do is see these little breaths at the beginning of these. I'll go here and I'll hit A, and that's going to chop everything to the left. Right? And I just want these to be super faded in and clean and nice. Right? And now when I play this back, it's going to be a lot smoother. And remember, we're really like focused on the lead vocal. So the doubles, we're not going to want all these breaths. Like, you don't want stacked up breaths. Like, it's just kind of, that's stupid. That would be silly.
Silent, I can't hide it. Well, in the morning, lost my head. Fighting, trying to make it work for days.
Right? So I'd go through and I'd literally like clean all this up. So as you can see, there's in-betweens and there's any breaths like that are doubling up right here. You can see, you can't see this stuff in Logic, man. This is why Pro Tools kicks ass. Like, look at this. Like, you can see exactly where the breath is. You can see sample accuracy. Watch this. I'm going to zoom in on it. You're going to see 0 crossing points. You see the waveform perfectly written. That's what Pro Tools is. Pro Tools is a professional tool. And, you know, Logic Pro is as well, but it's not like this with audio. I'm sorry. It just cannot compete. And hopefully one day it will, but it doesn't right now. So this is what we do. We use Pro Tools. All right, and then we're going to go through here, and it's funny because you hear people arguing online like, no, why would you use Pro Tools? Pro Tools sucks. It crashes. It does all this stuff. You're like, yeah, but it just does audio better. I don't really know what to, like, there's no argument there. Sorry. This just works better for this. You can, like, hear and see exactly what's going on. You just can't get to this kind of fidelity and this kind of zooming in of sample accuracy on any other DAW like this. And if you can't do the audio suite stuff, and you can't do the offline processing and all that. It's just better. Sorry. Fight me if you want in the comments. I don't care. So another breath. You hear that? Like this stuff right here. Just get rid of it. These are on the doubles, by the way. So I'm going to clean all this up. I'm not going to do it all on this live, but like this is how you make the record sound bigger. You take all this stuff and you clean it up. And you could use strip silence and then go in and trim around the edges after strip silencing if you want to use that process as well. But there you go. Like there's my phrase, and then I'm going to play this.
Silent, I can't hide it. Well, in the morning, lost my head. Fighting, trying to make it work for days.
So good, man. All right, now you can use auto align as well. So check this out. So I'm going to go to Sound Radix, and auto align post is what I use for this. It's not meant for this, but I don't give a shit because it works well. And what we do here, this is really interesting. It's kind of a weird way that this one works, but the Josh lead vocal 1 needs to be our key input. So Josh lead vocal 1. That's our key input. And then what we do is we select the other, yeah, you get it. So the key input is going to be your lead vocal, and then everything else is your dub. So now we can hit render on this, or we can hit visualize. If you hit visualize, this is what happens. You're going to see a visualization of the actual frequency spectrum, and you can zoom way in and you can see what's going on with this, right? You can see the phase inaccuracies and where things are out of phase and where they're aligned. And this looks actually pretty freaking good, man. Like, looks pretty aligned, right? But you can see here, this is like almost completely out of phase right there. See that? And I don't know if that matters too much. It's probably on an S or something. But either way, so here's what we got, and let's render it. And then now we have that auto-aligned. Let's do the same thing with all of these. Render. And you can do this by dynamic, or you can do this by spectral. Dynamic means that things are changing, so I should probably put it on static. But I find that the dynamic just works better for what I'm doing. Dynamic means you have two microphones that are moving around, right? Like onset sound and stuff. But it just works better. In my experience, when I use the dynamic rather than the static, even though this is probably, you would go with static on it. But you can A/B it. Render, bam. And we will render these. All right, now let's listen to that after vocal line and auto align post.
Silent, I can't hide it well in the morning, lost my head, fighting, trying to make it work for days.
What I always hear when I use auto align after vocal line to make it sample accurate with the phase is I hear the lows and the low mids come back in. You know, I hear that 800, the 500, I hear that area, that part comes back in, the chest and the body of the vocal. And that's just because the phase accuracy. So that's why I use it. That's it. That's how I do it, okay? So this is a big part of vocal production, and I wanted to live stream this with you guys because this is what I'll do for everything. I'll go through all of these vocals, and I'm now going to, you know, align, vocal line pro everything. I'm going to vocal line, and then I'm going to auto align everything. And once I'm done with a vocal, usually what I do is I'll go in here and I'll go to the clips on track, and I will color it like pink or whatever. It's like, oh, that's done, right? Then move to the next section, move to the next section, make sure everything's aligned, make sure everything's still musical, it's not over processed, it's not sounding unnatural, etc. And then once these are all aligned, I can now then take all of those that are aligned and maybe tuned as well. So for example, in Pro Tools, this is easy as well, right? So let's show you how to tune in Pro Tools. Go here, go to Melodyne. Oops, not RX Spectral. That's not what I wanted to do. I accept this agreement though. Shit, why not? Signing contracts. All right, so Melodyne. And right away, you can see it detects, it puts out all the vocal, it knows exactly what's going on, and it does it for the whole track, so you can see every single part of it. And then you can use this just like any other Melodyne. And if you have whatever version of Melodyne you have, that's what you'll have in Pro Tools, which is really cool. And then here we can go in and we can literally like get to tuning, right? Check it out. So you got like this phrasing here, right? This all looks pretty good actually. What I would do here is I'd use the tool here and double click, get that locked in a little bit better, maybe do a little fade there. And, you know, we're just gonna make him a little bit, you know, a little bit more pro here. I think that's pretty good. Center that up. And we will clip this guy because he's coming in a little bit pitchy there.
Can't hide it.
I can't like that's just coming in sharp. So you can keep that sharp note and see what that sounds like. With Melodyne, you do need to just like listen and play back and understand music, right?
Silent.
Silent. See, so he's going like a little pitchy there. We'll just go here, clip that, and that's cutting the note in half. And then we're centering the note right there, right? and we can make that a little smoother so that this E doesn't go into the F there. And if you want it to, the pitch drift tool, you can take that down. Right? You can center that pitch so he doesn't go into the F. And this is a better way of doing it if you don't want to use like an auto tune or something that's going to add a polish or an artifact to it. Here also, because this is like it's got a vibrato to it. That's not what he's doing, I know, but that right there, you can you can flatten that out a little bit. Silent, right? Because leave that for the lead. If you're gonna double something, the lead can go yeah, right? But like the double should just like they should be there to support. Right? And you can go through this whole thing and you can Melodyne the whole vocal. You can leave it all on. When you're done with it, you can print it, you know, whatever you want. And I think that's really powerful in Pro Tools as well. Right here, he's coming in a little hot. Can't, but it's because that's like a consonant. It doesn't really matter. I try not to overtune things. I think it's really, really important that you don't overtune things. This is getting a little pitchy here. I might like clip this, right? Not there, but like maybe here. No, I think maybe this was like there, somewhere around there. And then I might just double click it, right? So highlight, double click, that'll recenter. And then I might take the pitch drift down a little bit, right? So that it doesn't drift into the E flat. So I'm going to keep all his vibrato, but sometimes you don't want the vibrato to be as yeah, right? So you can go to the modulation tool and you can take the vibrato down. If you want to be more Post Malone, you can bring the vibrato, yeah. You can bring it up, right? So it's fun, man. Like you could do a lot with Melodyne and it's a super powerful tool. But with great power comes great responsibilities, my friend. So you have to know what you're using. Like for example, this is going a little bit flat there, right? So that's where you might use the pitch drift or the modulation tool and bring that back up. Sometimes the modulation won't work, so you, right? Go like bam. I mean, you know, he's got pretty good pitch, you know, especially for what we're doing here. We're not trying to make it perfect pop singing, but you know, you can go through and like any like ending notes that might be coming flat or sharp on the approach, things like this, you know, you can just kind of fix these things, right? That might have just, see how that fucked it up? Fight it. It's like, nah, that's not right. So hit undo and let that go down. Right, and just make sure you don't turn him into a robot either. Double click there, center that out, and we're just like giving some nice little movement to his vocal and making him sound just a little bit more pro. And that's the beauty of these tools. You don't need to go crazy, make people sound like robots, but you can just make them sound a little bit more polished as a vocalist. Especially when you got a good singer, you can then take that singer and make them sound phenomenal with these tools. So that's the idea. So anyway, that's what I got for you guys on this live stream. I just wanted to show you some of these tools in Pro Tools and some vocal production stuff that honestly people leave up to the mixing engineer, and I think that's a big mistake. I think you should always go through the full vocal production process, which is aligning, it's tuning, it's pocketing, right? So if the timing is out on your vocals against your beat and stuff like that, you need to pocket that. You're the producer, right? You don't like, oh, I sent it to a mixing engineer and, you know, they didn't mix the track. It's like, yeah, they did. They just didn't pocket your shit, tune all your vocals, you know, do all this stuff. I offer that stuff in my like higher up tiers of mixing and mastering because I know a lot of artists just don't know how to do that very well, right? So yeah, I'll do that for you. You just got to pay me more because it's a lot of fucking time. You can see how much time this is, right? This takes you hours to do sometimes. Like imagine you have 75 vocal tracks, stacks, harmonies, and everything needs to be pocketed together, locked in time, etc. Like look at these stacks, you know? This all has all sorts of stuff that needs to be done. Like, look at these. These are all off with each other, right? This starts early. This starts later. That one starts the latest, right? These all need to be aligned and pocketed. And then which one is the pocket, right? So the pocket would be the lead vocal, is what you're imagining, right? So look at, this is where the lead is. So the lead comes in here. This is where that starts. But like, look at this. This comes in early. That comes in late. This comes in maybe pretty similar. This comes in early. This comes in way early. That comes in all weird and wonky. So you have to go through this process if you want a professional sounding record. If you want the vocals to even just be like much more deliberate and understand what the words are. Because if you start stacking things up and they're all skewing the image of, you know, what someone is saying in the vocals and the lyrics, and you can't understand it because of that, you know, we got to make sure that that's all good. Sometimes that's not super important, but it can also cause a lot of phasing issues if your shit's all like, oh, this started here, that started over there, you know, there's this one over here, this one goes out here, and then this one starts earlier than that, and it all kind of just blends together and sounds all like, just doesn't sound good. So anyway, you guys have any last questions? I got like 10 minutes to answer questions if you have any, you know, any questions about production. Vocals, specifically, if you got anything. If you got only 2 doubles and 1 lead, would you pan it 100% left and right, or it depends? Yeah, that totally depends. I don't typically pan, I don't like the sound of hard left and right vocal doubles panned. They start to feel detached from the lead. And the idea of doing a left and right double on a vocal is not to make it hyper super wide like that. That's not the idea. The idea of doing doubles on your vocals is just to give the vocal more presence in the middle, right? So it's like your vocal might be this big, and then when you put the doubles on, the vocal goes like that, right? And it comes forward and it also goes back. It gives dimension to the vocal. It's not about like going hew, you know. That feels unnatural to me a lot of the times when I pan hard left and hard right on double vocals. It's not typically what I like to do. I don't, there's very rare cases where I do that. The rare case would be when I'm building out like choir vocals, choir stacks. Like I've done that a lot with like scores and stuff that I've been mixing. Yeah, it feels weird. I'm typically, when I put my doubles in the mix spectrum, I find myself usually at the like 25 to 40, 25 to 40 or 50, right? In Logic. So like the pan spectrum is not that heavy. It's not like 100, you know, like way out here with doubles. I feel like that's just really awkward. I've never liked that. Not vocal related, but any tips for mixing bass guitars? Yeah, bass is really hard, honestly. What I pay attention to with mixing bass guitars is hopefully the arrangement and the orchestration of the bass is right. Meaning like whatever track you're mixing, if you're the player on it or whatever, just make sure like your kick drum is like a punchy kick drum, or if it's a really low subby kick drum, then your bass is either above or below the kick drum in arrangement, right? And even in when you're dialing in your tone, I think that's really important. If you have like this bass that's like doo 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 and the kick drum's going doo doo doo, like they're both taking up the exact same thing, I think that makes it a lot harder to mix bass. And then you're going to overcompensate with a bunch of plugins, and it's going to sound unnatural. And obviously this depends on the genre and the style, right? Like you don't always want your bass to sound super natural and organic. But like, for example, in hip hop, if you have a kick and you have an 808 you probably want to either put above the kick or below the kick, usually below the kick. So the 808's like really low, like going boom, 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 and the kick's going doo, 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 you know, boom, boom, boom. So they're working together. It's really important that you produce right. And that's the producer's job, to make sure that you're using the elements and putting the elements in the right spectrum and picking the right sounds first. I think that's going to make mixing the bass a lot easier. But now let's imagine you already did that and you took care of that. I like to anchor bass guitars, meaning I compress the life out of them, meaning I do not want them to move. That's just my preference. Unless it's a very organic song, like a singer-songwriter kind of thing. The bass is like every note you're going to hear, and that's just a matter of compressing it pretty good. I don't want my bass, I don't want it to go like I want every note to be right there, because that's your anchor. That's the bass is like your foundation. Yeah, that's a good question. So besides Vocaline and solid plugins for either fixing or being aware of phasing, yeah, it's hard. I think your best bet, Kev, is to come in to the actual audio waveform. So when you have a phasing issue, or you think that there's a phasing issue, you come into the audio waveform itself. This is really, really obvious with transient heavy information. But just go really zoom into the audio waveform and you can see where things are out of phase. You know what I mean? So if I zoom in, you can see where things are not in phase. So that's really the best way to do it. All right, see how these are almost perfectly out of phase? So meaning this is the positive polarity here, right? You see that? And then if you go down to the next track, that's where the negative is, right? So that's going to be totally out of phase with itself, with that double. So sometimes that's just a matter of going like this, literally that simple. Obviously, find the peak of the information, find where the peak of the information is. For example, probably right in here on this audio. And then put these in phase with each other. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard. It's hard. I think you have to move it around and then you got to play it. And when you hear the low end and the body go away, where it feels thinner, everything sounds thinner. And I'm talking about nothing's panned. You're panned right up the center with the same thing, right? You have a vocal one, and then you have the vocal double right here, right? And if you start to move the audio waveform around and it gets really thin when they're right on top of each other, then you're probably out of phase. If you move if you're nudging it, and then it gets all the body back, right? And it feels thicker again, you're probably in better phase, right? You're never going to be at 100% in phase just because things are dynamic. Words are different. You sing things differently. You might sing, a higher pitch or a lower pitch, etc. And those higher and lower pitches are longer waveforms or shorter waveforms. So yeah, you just have to move it around. You got to use your ears and understand what you're listening for. Oh yeah, here we go. You mentioned crest factor. How do you check? Even talking about VST, graph, whatever, if it's at the right level. What does LAR actually mean and how to read it? What's your LAR point? See, this is just stuff that I don't care about. So I don't care about that. I don't think a lot of people care about that. I think when you're mixing and mastering, because you're really talking about the mastering phase, the last steps, the final steps of mastering. I'm not going what's the crest factor? What am I shooting for? I'm usually okay, is this loud enough to compete for the genre, for the song? How loud does this song need to be specifically for the genre that it's competing in, that it's going against, that the playlist it's going to be in? What is it going to compete against, right? This song, for example, is not going to be something I want to hit this crazy, -3 LUFS and a crest factor of 2 dB or something. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. So yeah, it just depends on the genre. You have to feel this stuff out. You have to understand what you're going for. And if you're talking about rap, for example, perfect example, lo-fi hip hop versus trap record versus, modern country rap, they all have different, they're just going to have to hit different different points. You know what I mean? So it's not a none of this is like hard and fast. I don't go for hard and fast things ever. I don't think you're ever going to find anybody that's going to. Even like the mastering engineers that constantly master, they're going to give you the same answer. And I've been mastering for years now, decades. Like over 10 years I've been mastering records. So I just don't think there's a hard fast rule there. You know, like are you going to be competing with that latest like Richie, whatever his name is, you know, $1 Million Baby? Like it's like that's clipped out. It's like it's fucked, you know. That's a stylistic choice. That record did that because it wanted to, and it worked. But that's not going to work for everything. Actually, I think most songs it won't work for. Yeah, you guys are welcome, for sure. If you mix the same song, one in Logic and one in Pro Tools, the Pro Tools mix will sound better? No, not necessarily. I don't think that's true. They definitely have different summing engines, but for the most part, they're pretty similar as far as sounding. Some people swear that like Pro Tools sounds better or Logic sounds better. It's just a preference. Like we all hear different as well. Remember that. And a big factor would be that Pro Tools, you can go to here and hit activate heat. And heat is going to be on all the channels. So what heat is like an analog emulation, if you will, of it's like an analog emulation on the actual track built in. So if you turn that on, activate heat, you're automatically Pro Tools is gonna sound different. If you turn it off, then Pro Tools is gonna sound pretty much the same as Logic Pro. You know, your summing engine might sound a little different, but it's so minimal. Like if I did the same exact mix, which you're never gonna do, the difference would be like I mix differently in Pro Tools versus Logic. So yeah, better is such a subjective term. Like, will it sound better or worse? It would maybe sound better to you, maybe worse to me, you know? So that's a hard, just an opinion thing. And there's people that swear that like, oh, this sounds better than that. And it's like, I don't think so. I think that's bullshit. I think that's like one of those like psychological things, you know? Every time I use Pro Tools, my mixes sound better. And it's like, nah, you just mix different in Pro Tools. Maybe you're not as fluent in Logic Pro as you are with Pro Tools. Or maybe you're doing something differently in Pro Tools that you're not doing in Logic. That's making your mix sound different. And different sometimes to people sounds better, or different sounds worse. It's all so subjective. So I don't buy into any of those arguments that like one sounds better than the other. Blanco or Reposado? Now that's a real question, right? I would say Reposado usually, but it depends on the Reposado, because I mean Blancos are just kind of boring, right? Blancos are clean. You just get like a clean Blanco. It's like, okay, yeah, it's Blanco tequila. You know, put it in a margarita, mixed drink. Reposado has more depth, has a little bit more flavor to it. You can get notes of caramel. You could get notes like smoky notes, oaky notes. You can get vanilla notes. Reposado, because it's aged, it depends on the barrel that it's aged in. It's the only difference, right? Is that it's soaking up the flavor of whatever barrel you're putting it in, the type of wood, etc. So, always depends. How did you end up finding the mic that you enjoyed using the most for songs? Really by necessity, I'd say. It goes like, oh, what can I afford? Okay, what's the best mic I can afford? Like, oh, the TLM 103, I can afford that, right? And then I just like had it for so long, and I dialed in my tone and stuff with it, that I just started liking it more and more and more. And then I was like, okay. And then once you learn your tool, it's like you just get really good at your tool, and you can color it however you want to color it. And I also think like learning mic technique with the microphone that you're using, and learning how to listen through your headphones, and all that stuff is so important. But yeah, like if you're talking about just for my voice, that's different than like for me recording other artists. So I do have the Slate Digital ML1, which I love. I think that's so sick. I use that on a lot of my records, probably every record I ever make. And I use the 251, the Telefunken 251 model on that. And I think it just sounds so good, right? And that's like, dude, I think I got this one on sale for like $500-600. So yeah, it just depends. It depends on what I'm trying to do. But this is going to be more glossy, and it's going to be lower self noise, and I can color it how I want, or I can keep it really clean and pop. And you know, the top end on it is really nice, but it also has sibilance problems, right? Like in the 5500 area that I always find. So yeah, you know, I just kind of out of necessity, honestly. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to help you guys out, answer some questions. What are the best ways to market yourself as an audio engineer? This is a good question. There you go. I would say make content that is valuable to artists. You know, the people, your clients that you want to mix, you want to you know, record, you want to engineer for. That's all I would do. If I was going to be like, I don't do that anymore. I used to do that like crazy. But here, I'll show you like the content I would make if I was like trying to get more clients for audio engineering, like if I was trying to get more clients for mixing and stuff. So I'm just going to go to my Bradley HD TikTok account or whatever, and I'll show you probably the best like kind of content I would make, or that I did make, that would bring in the most clients for engineering, right? I think it would be, where is it? I can't tell because it's not showing this one, but I think it's one of these. Nope. Not that one. Not that one. Okay, it's refreshing. It's probably one of these here. Trying to find it. I think it's still refreshing here. So, you know, lately I've switched my content to be kind of more plugin centric and like tools for producers. Okay, so here you go. So this is the content I would make if I was like just looking to bring on clients for engineering. Have you ever wondered what a professional mix and master from a Grammy, Emmy, Oscar-nominated mixing engineer with Platinum Records can really do for your music? Let's check out a before and after. A mix and master that I got from the client, as far as they could get it, and then the final mix and master that I sent back to the client. And you be the judge. For best results with this A to B comparison, have a nice pair of headphones or be in a nice room with some good monitoring.
I don't mean to boast, but I got the most. I got my friends, I got my folks, I got my girls, you know, I got the strokes. Yeah, I got some fears, but I got the hopes. Close. I don't mean to boast, but I got the most. I got my friends, I got my folks, I got my girls, you know, I got the strokes. Yeah, I got some fears, but I got the hopes. Close.
I got more blessings than a pulpit. I got more spring than a tulip. I'm shooting for the stars with a full clip, so I ain't really got time for the prank.
Close.
I got more blessings than a pulpit. I got more spring than a tulip. I'm shooting for the stars with a full clip, so I ain't really got time for the cool kids.
All right, now it's your turn. Which one do you like better? Drop a comment. Let me know. Let's have a conversation. Have you ever wondered what a professional mix and... Okay, so obviously this is like an old post and it's streaming like really weird, so like it just doesn't sound very good off the computer right now. And I'm streaming it through a stream, so it's like you can hear it artifacting. But stuff like this, A, being your work, showing your work, not telling people, hey, work with me. Hey, I got a deal going on with mixing, you know? Like, hey, I want to record you. Nobody gives a fuck. You get what I'm saying? Like, you have to show people. Show me, don't tell me, right? So you have to be able to make your content valuable as well. So you might want to give some tips to artists about how to make their, place their microphone better, or how to isolate their microphone, or how to get rid of sibilance, or whatever. Teach people, and then show people. Like, I think A/B before and afters are probably your best bet for marketing. And what I would do is I would just make that all day long. Like, do not stray from that. Like, make like 3 different types of content, but make sure you target your content towards adding value to artists that you want to work with. So if those artists are, 23 to 35-year-old rappers that like this, and this, that's what you should do. You should make the content for those people. And that's really important. I think people miss that. Like, who are you making your content for? Who are you talking to when you put that post up? Are you trying to talk to other producers? Like, no, of course not, right? Like, I'm not trying to talk to other producers when I do that content. I'm talking to artists. I'm talking to artists that I would want to bring on that make quality music that I know I can help. And then add value to those people every day. Like, literally just keep adding value. And you're going to get tired. You're going to get bored. You're going to feel like no one's paying attention. And then you do it consistently for 6 months, 9 months. And then people start hitting you up. They DM you. They start commenting. You get a post to go up a little bit more. Then you have to work on your sales process. So there's marketing and then there's sales. And if you have just a marketing, like your marketing's killer, but everything's falling flat in your sales process, like, what are your packages? Why do you charge that for mixing and mastering? Why do you charge that for studio time? What are your credits? Can you give me some, send me a link to some examples of this style of music? What have you mixed? Where can I find out more about you? What have you done? Do you have any awards? Why are you charging that much? Why? What are you doing? What is the process that you go through? What's included in your mixing and mastering? What's included in your recording sessions? What's the extra value? What's the additional value? What if I don't like your mixes? Answer all those questions. Like, put all the rejections and all the questions that people might have about why they wouldn't work with you. Here's some really common ones. Like, a lot of common ones why people don't work with me on stuff. They think, oh, what's a mix and master going to do for me? I can mix and master myself. Right? That's like a common objection. And it's like, well, you just ask those people, how are you doing? How's your music business going? You don't have any results? Why not? Oh, well, it's not because of my mix and master. I know that. It's because of my marketing. People want to jump to conclusions. And then you have to tell them, like, well, what if I told you that when you mix and master with me, I make content like I just showed you guys. Like, this video will probably get like 600 views easily within a week. Your music's on my content forever. I've done content where I exploit the songs and the records that I work on with the clients, and then I put it on plugin vendors and things like that with content. So not only are you getting a mix and master, you're getting reach of 1 million people through the Waves accounts, the Autotune accounts, my accounts, etc., my mailing list, my YouTube, right? So you are reaching people that you would usually pay in advertising dollars, people that you're reaching out to cold in advertising dollars, you'd pay $500, $600, $1,000 to reach. But I'm doing that for you organically. And people are finding your music through me mixing and mastering your records. So right there, that value equals itself just in marketing value, in promotional value, in me getting your music heard by more people than you'll ever touch. By even marketing or promoting yourself or running, like you can make 50 posts, still not reach as many people, right? So you have to add extra value. And if you're not adding that extra value, then you need to be a commodity. You're gonna be a commodity. You're gonna barter on price. I don't barter on price. Like, someone's like, oh, I can't afford you, man. Would you do it for $200? I'm like, no. Why? I'll get another artist is gonna come to me and pay $500. Another artist is gonna come to me and pay $1,000. I just got a VIP mix client that I got to do for $1,000. My artist development clients, these guys that work on like full production, mixing and mastering with me, like they pay thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to work with me on records. But why? Because they get exposure. They get me pitching these songs to sync licensing reps. They get return on investment in so many ways that like they could never do on their own. It might take them 8 years to get there. to get to a point where they're like reaching those kind of people or getting any sort of return. Most people want to figure everything out on their own, right? You know how much time that costs? What's your time worth? That's what I ask. I'm not looking to work with people that are broke, that have a shit ton of time on their hands, that are never going to go anywhere. Like literally not ever going to go anywhere because they're not going to skill up. They're going to take like 10, 12 years to get to a level that I'm like, yeah, you're pretty good now, I guess, you know? It's a waste of time. So a big thing someone told me once that changed my business: sell to the rich, sell to people that can afford your shit, sell to people that have extra money to spend. Don't sell to people that cannot afford your shit. Do not sell to broke ass motherfuckers. Don't sell to people with well wishes. Like people that are like, yo, I want free stuff. I want free. Everything should be free. I want your free content. I want free mixes. I want free beats. I want free. I want free. I want free. I want free. Because those people, they expect to make money and success and get paid off their music and sell out shows, etc., sell merch and make all this money and be famous artists, but they're not willing to pay for anything to get there. So if they're not willing to pay for that, how do they expect this, right? You got to find the people that are like, I don't know, I don't really have any expectations, but I'm willing to pay whatever to skip 5 years, to skip 3 years, to skip a year and a half of learning and struggle and questions asked. And I want to get there quicker, right? So find people that have a time problem, not a money problem. All right, I'm going to get out of here, you guys. I hope you guys really liked the stream and you got a lot out of it. Yeah, stay tuned. I got a new song, like I said, dropping tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Bradley Deniston, Call Me on the Way. Check it out. I think you guys will dig it if you like upbeat, fun shit. All right. You guys have a nice summer, and I'll try to do some more live streams, but only if you share the show. Show some love. All right, peace.